Yep.
So shall we give our verdict on a countdown? So whether we think it's the best Spider-Man film of all time, yes or no? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Like how I said it anyway. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of The Rewatch, where your hosts rewatch a classic or current film weekly and decide whether it deserves a rewatch from you, the listener. My name is Samuel.
And I'm Jaden.
And stick around towards the end of today's podcast as we'll be partaking in a little quiz about the movie that we watched this week. And we'll also be debating whether this is the best Spider-Man film yet. And I feel as though we might have differing opinions on that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But we'll see. Before we dive into it, this is going to be funny. Anything else other than Spider-Verse that you watched this week, Jaden? Let's talk about what we want to talk about.
I think I know what you want me to talk about. The Finest Hours.
The Finest Hours.
Available on Disney Plus. Possibly one of the trashiest movies I've ever watched. Almost fell asleep watching it, man. It was terrible.
For any listeners who don't go to our university, we were forced to watch this movie as part of the class because apparently it contains elements of teamwork and leadership. Do you think it did at all? I mean, at parts, maybe? I mean, that was our assignment, so hopefully we found something.
It did in some parts. It's just I was so bored watching the movie. It was just
so boring. But,
it was terrible.
But yeah, so The Finest Hours is a Disney movie. It's on Disney Plus. Absolutely plummeted at the box office. Hardly made any money at all. Features Chris Pine, who's actually in this movie.
He is, isn't he? He plays Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's the first Spider-Man.
Spider-Man A. Parker.
Yeah, A. Parker. Is that his actual name? Or
yeah, his middle name is A, and then the second one, Spider-Man B. Parker.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just A and B there. No, I really like this Chris Pine Spider-Man in this movie, but anyway, we'll get to that in a second. The Finest Hours, don't watch it. The end.
Do not recommend.
Oh gosh. I also watched a movie that I want to talk about on this podcast. I watched this movie called Prisoners, which is on Netflix.
Still need to watch that.
It's amazing. Starring Jake Gyllenhaal, who is Mysterio most recently, and Hugh Jackman, who's obviously Wolverine, or was anyway. Rip.
Rest in peace.
So yeah, this movie came out in 2013, and it tells the story of basically Hugh Jackman's little girl gets abducted or kidnapped. She just disappears one day, along with the little girl's friends. So 2 little girls go missing, and the whole movie is, the story of Hugh Jackman, who's the father of one of the kids, and Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays the detective who's trying to figure out who did it. And it's just an incredible movie. It's directed by the same guy who directed Blade Runner 2049.
I still didn't finish all that.
Yeah, you need to.
I got like halfway through it. It's like a really satisfying film to watch. Like, yeah, the cinematography of it is just beautiful. Some of the shots are insane.
Yeah, it's the same with this movie as well.
That's another episode we need to do.
One of the best parts of the movie is right at the beginning. So everything's all happy. These 2 families, I think it's Thanksgiving or something like that. Whatever the Americans do. And so they're all like happy. And there's just one shot of the movie from outside the house. And there's just this, this dark sort of music. And the camera just like slowly moves towards the house. And in that one shot, it lasts for about 5 seconds, but you just know that something's not right. And it's just incredible cinematography because everything's all happy. And then you just get this wide shot from outside the house. And you're like, oh dear, like something bad's about to happen. Maybe it has happened. But yeah, so it's the best, by far the best who did it story. So like, detective trying to find out, where the girls are because they've disappeared, and who who's taken them. And also, just to quickly say this before we wrap up on this and get into the Spider-Verse, there's a scene in this movie where the main suspect is taken into custody, but then released because they don't have enough evidence to charge him. And so the suspect comes out of the courthouse or the jail cell or whatever, and Hugh Jackman's right there. He's going a bit crazy, and he grabs the suspect, and he's like, he's got his hands around his throat. You think he's going to kill him essentially, and all these people converge on him, trying to move him, like get Hugh Jackman away. And in that one moment, you just hear softly the suspect say, "They only cried when I let them go." And then, but nobody else hears this except Hugh Jackman or Hugh Jackman's character. And Jake Gyllenhaal, who's the police officer, he's like, "Did anybody else hear you say this?" Because he doubts him straight away. And the thing that's so great about this movie, there's so many instances where you're thinking, okay, did that actually happen? Or is Hugh Jackman's character just so traumatized by the event that he's thinking that it happened because he wants it to be him? Because if it's not him, then who is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely brilliant story. It's a bit dark. It is a bit dark. My family weren't, they weren't chuffed with this movie.
With you watching it?
Yeah.
Oh, did they watch it as well?
Yeah. So I watched it with them.
Oh.
But yeah, they thought it was a bit, it's a tense movie, but oh my gosh, it's a beautiful movie. Fantastic. Everybody should see this movie.
Definitely need to watch that. Yeah.
Brilliant. So that's the other thing I watched this week. Did you watch anything else that you want to talk about, or should we get into it?
No, I think it was just the
finest
old
hours.
Boring finest hours that I
what a week.
Wasted some time on.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a couple hours you will never get back.
Never.
Okay. So listeners, you can listen to us on Anchor, which is its own separate platform. And if you go into that Anchor link, which is on our Instagram bio, you can click on Spotify or Apple Podcast icons, and they'll take you to the podcast in those respective platforms. You can also find us on YouTube by searching The Rewatch with the first thing that comes up, which is pretty awesome. So just search in The Rewatch on YouTube and we'll come straight up. The podcast will be released on there first. So if you want to get in early, just subscribe to The Rewatch on YouTube. So here's my little spiel of Into the Spider-Verse. Get this out the way.
Yep.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was released in 2018 to critical acclaim and...
Wait, surely it wasn't that long ago. 2018.
2018. I mean, it's only 2 years ago. Right?
It feels more recent than that.
2018. Nah, well... I mean, what else? That was like Avengers Infinity War, so... No, it's...
The Avengers... I remember when the Avengers Infinity War trailer dropped. It was like 2017. It does not feel like that long ago, though. Anyways.
So released to critical acclaim. Critics loved it, but we don't really care what the critics think. That's why we started this podcast, because we know the critics are...
trash.
They get paid to review things. We don't, so here we are. It also released to very positive fan reception. Now, that's probably the most important thing, especially considering Spider-Man fans are not easily pleased, are they? Spider-Man fans that aren't me. That's for sure.
That aren't.
Because lots of people do not like the movies that we have had recently. And by recently, I mean The Amazing Spider-Man, not Homecoming.
Oh, God, I've got some things to say about the Amazing Spider-Man series.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I had to think about that phrase for a second there. It was like, we're going to get to that bridge when we cross it. No, that's not how it goes. Anyway, so the story of Into the Spider-Verse was written by Lord and Miller. And they're the directors behind the Lego movie. Have you seen the Lego movie?
Yeah, quite a bit ago, though.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed it when it came out.
Yeah, fantastic movie. Lego Batman movie, obviously one of the greatest films of all time. Lord and Miller also notably got fired from Solo. So they were taking on Solo, a Star Wars story. And they
I wonder how
actually,
that would have turned out.
yeah.
Because
Definitely,
I definitely, it was like an average movie at best, Solo. But
Yeah.
I reckon
at best.
I reckon they probably would have done a better job if Lord and Miller had stayed with it or hadn't been fired by Kathleen.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously Kathleen got rid of them. They were almost finished making the movie too, so maybe even a Lord and Miller cut exists. But anyway, I don't think we'll ever see it. I don't think we will ever see it. Into the Spider-Verse, it received many accolades. So yeah, obviously the critics liked it. But most notably, won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature Film, which I think it deserves. But we'll get more into that in a bit. So do you want to give us try and summarize the plot in your own words?
In my own words.
And then as soon as you finished, I will say the one sentence from Wikipedia, and we'll see if you do it better. We'll see if it does it better. Wikipedia or Jaden, go.
Okay, so Into the Spider-Verse is basically the story of a high school teenager who's located in I think it's Manhattan, or maybe it's Brooklyn.
New York City.
I think it's Brooklyn, New York City.
Yeah.
And he discovers his powers similar to that of the original Spider-Man, Peter Parker. And I think it's a person that comes to, it's like a story of becoming who you want to be, really.
Yeah.
And who he tries to live up to be. Obviously, Spider-Man sort of mentors him.
Yeah.
And it's really a story of, I think it's mainly a story of him and his Uncle Aaron. I feel like Uncle Aaron's a really big sort of character within this film. But anyway, I'm going off track. It's more so teenager gets his powers, tries to stop Kingpin from turning on the I think it's the particle accelerator.
Oh yeah, something.
To combine the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I think it's the particle accelerator.
Yeah, something like that. The collider, I think it's called.
Yeah, the collider. That's what it is. So he stops him from turning on the collider to see his family, which obviously messes up the Spider-Verse. And yeah, that's basically what I got there.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see what Wikipedia has to say, because we know we can cite them as a source. They're very reliable. Set in a shared multiverse called the Spider-Verse, the story follows Miles Morales as he becomes the new Spider-Man and joins other Spider people from various dimensions to save New York City from Kingpin. Very brief. Very brief.
Yes.
So let's jump right into it. What did you like about this movie? I feel like we're gonna like similar things.
Similar things?
Yeah.
Okay. Starting off with the aesthetic of the film.
Yes, that's the first thing I wrote down too.
Oh, it's such a pleasing one to watch. Like to the eye, it's just beautiful. I mean, I love the comic-esque sort of feel that it has.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the you see all the little dots in the animation. It looks like it's just printed straight out of a comic book.
Straight out of a comic book.
And also like the shading, and I also like the action words that they have. In some of the scenes, they have bang and crash and all that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I tried not to write any notes before rewatching this movie. But the one note I did have was animation style. But I took it off. I was like, no, we got to go in fresh, just got to see it. But within the first 30 seconds, I was writing animation.
You had to write it down. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I think the colors are so vibrant.
Yeah.
It's a movie that you've really got to watch on the highest resolution that you can, because I usually watch this on DVD, and then I recently upgraded to the Blu-ray, and it just looks so nice. It looks so nice. The colors are fantastic.
The second point I had was the color in the film and how vibrant the frames are. So I guess we kind of had the same sort of thought process there.
Yeah, I have a negative with the animation style, actually. Should we jump to that?
I feel like I know what you're gonna say. I feel like it's the choppiness of the frames.
Yes, that's exactly.
But I really like that.
No,
So,
see,
yeah.
I don't like that. In the action scenes, it's like this movie is running on a subpar PC, like a bad computer or something like that. Because like when the action gets going and there's a lot of things happening, it just like slows down and it like lags essentially. And I know that's supposed to be, because of the comic book style.
Yeah.
But during the action scenes, like you want to see everything, and I just found it a bit jarring. That's
really,
yeah. I was like, I really like the action in this movie, and I think the animation, like it brings out that action and it elevates it. But
I quite liked it because I felt, like you said, I felt like it. It's from a comic book. It's meant to look like a comic book, and the thing with comic books is a lot of their panels are like exaggerated because they have to be. They've got one panel to show, what is happening in that frame. So I think what they did with this film is they tried to sort of copy that and pass it over into film property, where it was so jarring because every sort of movement was exaggerated. But obviously I can see where you're coming from as to why you probably didn't like that. But
if I could make it any better in terms of the animation style, I would just up the frame rate a bit.
Up the frame rate?
Especially during the action scenes, because I think this movie is at its best when there's not a lot happening in terms of the animation style anyway. It's just like when you see, those shots of New York City and on the subway, there's this beautiful shot. It's very Joker-esque, actually.
I definitely wouldn't watch this for the action. I would watch it for its animation style.
Yeah.
That's what I would watch it for is how beautiful the film actually is.
Yeah.
The shots in the film, like you said, when he's coming down from the skyscraper.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, I just up the frame rate for me, especially during the action scenes, because it just felt a bit laggy.
Fair enough.
But another thing that I really liked in this movie that I also have a problem with, actually, I tried so hard with this movie to have problems with. I think I'm nitpicking. There's not a lot wrong with this
you've
movie.
been really harsh, man.
Yeah, because I know this movie is fantastic. Yeah, and I just tried so hard to, think, okay, how can this movie get better? How can this movie be better? Because there are so many people that froth over this movie.
And fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it's amazing.
It is pretty fantastic. But yeah, so another thing I really liked is the music. I think the music is fantastic. Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee or something like that.
Yeah.
Is no kidding, like one of my favorite songs of all time.
I was gonna say that's my favorite song in this film.
Yes, but
here's
my issue with it though. It's not a song that it's when you think of music in movies, think of movies like Blade Runner that have those really and Star Wars, the music just elevates the movie, and it fits in with the theme of the movie. And yes, this music fits into the theme, but it's just a song that Miles listens to on his headphones. Like it's not think of the Amazing Spider-Man 2's music in that final sequence, or even in the opening sequence. Like that music just makes everything so much better. Like it makes a bad movie good. For me anyway. Whereas like this Sunflowers is a fantastic song. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, as I said before. But it's just a song that he listens to on his headphones. So
there isn't a name for that, where music inside the film and then music outside of the film. I don't know what it's called though, but there is a name for that.
And I do think that there are some really good songs that are like in this movie, if you know what I mean.
In the film as well. I never really looked at the Into the Spider-Verse track, but I might quickly
Oh,
just
there's
search
some
it up.
really good songs in there. The albums is like I enjoy listening to that album. But there's a song called "Scared of the Dark," which has XXX Tentacion,
Yeah.
and it cues right when like Spider-Man. Well, okay, spoiler alert. When the Chris Pine Spider-Man when he dies,
Yeah.
and there's this like sad moment where everyone's seeing it on their phones, and this song starts playing, and it's perfect because it's got that sort of hip hop vibe because it's X,
Yeah.
but like it's quite a sad song, but then it picks up towards the end. But obviously you don't see that in the movie. Like it's just the start, which is quite sad, but it just fits perfectly. And I think the hip hop vibe really fits with Miles as a character. In this movie. But yeah, I just think the songs are fantastic, but some of them are just songs that he listens to on his headphones, so you can't really give. It's not like it's an actual movie score per se.
Yeah.
It's just, like that Post Malone song could have been released outside of the movie, like without any branding.
I wouldn't question it as a like a song that should have been in a film. I just question it as an ordinary Post song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would have loved it anyway. But yeah, I think there are certain songs where they try and fit in some lyrics like, shoot my webs or whatever, but it just comes off a bit weird. Like, it's a rap song, and
Yeah, I'm looking at the artists now, and
they've got Juice WRLD in there somewhere as well.
Yeah, they've got Juice WRLD, Jaden Smith.
Yeah, Way Up's pretty good.
That's Denzel Curry, YBN Corday. Got a bunch of people in here that I never really got into this sort of album. So
one thing that Sony does do well is they go all out on the music. I mean, it's fair enough considering they're a music label.
Yeah.
But like, it's really hard to fault Sony movies with their choices of music.
Yeah. Well, they've probably got a lot of these artists on. They work for them. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably got a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what I'm trying to say.
I really enjoyed the music in this movie.
So did I. Yeah.
But yeah. And it's an album that I listen to on a regular basis. So big thumbs up for the music. Do you want to say something else that you liked?
I feel like a Spider-Man film that doesn't have Peter Parker in it, I feel like the fan base has been waiting for that a lot.
Okay.
So when a Miles Morales film was announced, I think everyone got really excited for that. Obviously, Black Lives Matter being a big social debate right now. No, I think it was just a fresh start. I don't mind Spider-Man films at all. Give me another Peter Parker one, I'd probably watch it. But Miles Morales as the main character was just really refreshing this time around.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, nice change of pace, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to come in later when we discuss whether this is the best Spider-Man film of all time. Because I have some thoughts on that, and I think it might spark a bit of debate. So
controversy.
Yeah, so listeners, stick around to the end for that, because that's the last thing we'll do before we sign off. Another thing I really loved about this movie, and I loved it in the first 20, 30 minutes, is Miles's relationship with his dad, which I think is one of the best parts of this movie. I think it's the heart of this movie. And I also think having his dad as a police officer, I know that's not new, and that's how it goes in the comics, and that's how it went in the Spider-Man video game.
Yeah.
But I think having his...
I kind of forget that he's in that video game, hey?
Yeah.
Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pretty awesome moment, actually, for Miles as a character in the PS4 game. But, and really, really devastating moment, actually. It's really quite dark. But anyway, so yeah, I really loved Miles and his dad, in that first opening sequence where his dad is, taking him to school, and he's like, you got to say it back, and everything like that. Really loved that.
Like, obviously, I feel like that's it. people can relate to that.
I
I feel
could
like
definitely
that's
relate to being embarrassed by parents.
yeah,
In front
yeah,
of school. Yeah,
yeah. So I
definitely.
feel like that was really what a teenager is being put through. I feel like that
Yeah, and he's got the
a
cool
lot of people
uncle,
sympathize with that.
as well.
Yeah,
Some of the
that's
jokes as
that
well.
sort of trinity between Uncle Aaron,
Yeah,
his dad, and Miles is just done so well. I mean,
yeah, I
they're
agree.
for me the main characters in the film, even though it's a Spider-Man film. I feel like
Yeah,
Uncle Aaron, Jefferson Davis, and Miles Morales are really
yeah,
the three most important ones in the film for
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. Um, and yes, just speaking about Uncle Aaron, I thought the chemistry between Miles and Aaron was also great.
Yeah.
And as much as obviously I was like, did you get caught by the twist of Uncle Aaron as the Prowler at all
Oh, 100%. I'm not.
in the
I think.
cinema? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's comic accurate.
Oh
I never
yeah.
really got into Miles Morales' character as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know, who Uncle Aaron was as a character. But yeah, it totally caught me off guard. I didn't even see that coming.
Yeah, because I think that's how it goes in the comics as well. But I've never read a Spider-Man comic.
Neither.
I've read Civil War, but Spider-Man he doesn't have a major role.
I used to be big on Avengers and all that when I was quite young. Used to read quite a lot of them.
Yeah, so but I've never read a Miles, so I had zero knowledge of the source material for Miles, which I think is the majority of the people watching this movie.
They handled it well considering it is a comic film.
Yeah.
Yeah, just standalone from the comics. Everyone can pick up the sort of gist of the film. You don't need to be a Spider-Man fanatic like us.
Yeah. I also like the fact that obviously Miles he's attending this this posh private school.
Yeah.
I think some people will be able to relate to that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that he brings a suitcase to school. Like he's got
that was strange.
He's got that many books. He needs a whole suitcase.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, so that was just a little thing where I was like, damn, this this school is pretty
prestigious,
elite, obviously.
Yeah.
And another thing I also liked in the school is the scene where Miles is late for class and he walks in and there's a the class is dark. There's a screen in the background and the screen is actually a video of Dr. Olivia Octavius.
Yes.
And she's talking about parallel universes.
Yeah.
And I only noticed this on this rewatch. But I just thought that was great sort of foreshadowing.
On the topic of that as well, did you notice that Miles, when he was standing in front of the projector, he was actually covering up the last name Octavius, so it was kind of it was like, here, who's this character, and I think we all knew who it was. But it was like sort of hiding it as well at the same sort of time. So we just had Dr. Olivia.
Well, I just completely didn't register that at all. I was just focused on Miles for the first.
There's so many little things in the film. There's so many Easter eggs and everything. That's another story for another time that we have to touch on.
That's the great thing about having a rewatch of great movies, that you're always picking up on new things.
Another thing I was going to touch on as well is the individual stories for the 6 or so Spider-Man that are in the film. How every time they come on screen, it's all right, let's do this one more time or one last time.
I think that's great.
That's a hint to how many times that Spider-Man has actually been rebooted, like countless times. I couldn't name how many Spider-Man there are. So I think that's kind of a joke as to how many times it's actually been rebooted when it says, let's do this one last time.
So obviously, the Kingpin, who's the bad guy in this movie, he tries to bring back his family who were killed in a car accident, and in doing so creates this massive dimensional hole, and that's how we get all these different Spider people from all these different dimensions, and everything like that. Who was your favorite of the Spider Gang?
Spider-Man Noir, without a doubt.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know a lot about his sort of storyline and his character, but he just looks sick, man.
Yeah.
And I think the choice of I think it was Nicolas Cage for Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
It's just such a great pick. Like, obviously, his sort of Nicolas Cage, his sort of theme that he does in his movies, it's quite dark already. So I think choosing a dark character like Spider-Man Noir, who is essentially a black and white character,
yeah, he said
it was just bound to fit.
Yeah, 1930s or something like that. I think he's from.
Yeah,
it must be a bit like later on in the 1930s because he's like, I like killing Nazis, or
Nazis,
like beating up Nazis or something like that. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I told you this before. I thought it was Liam Neeson. For so long.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. I at the start as well. I did think the exact same thing.
I thought he was voiced by Liam Neeson, but no, it's Nicolas Cage. But I think it it could have worked either way.
Definitely.
That's a good choice. For me, it's got to be Peter B. Parker. I think Peter B. Parker carries the humor in this movie. I don't think anybody else is funny except for Peter B. Parker.
Peter Porker's more so the his 6-year-old humor.
Yeah.
Peter B. Parker's, for that mature audience that's also watching the film, because it kind of goes both ways. You mean, like, you've got a younger audience, but you've also got 40-year-olds watching the film who are just obsessed with Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I think Peter B. Parker is there for the older audience because he's a bit of an older Spider-Man.
100%, yeah.
Things have gone wrong in his life. He's been.
I think he was like 38 or something in the film. Yeah.
So definitely targeting the young parents.
Yeah.
Of the kids who are in the cinema, looking up to Miles. Who do you think so obviously we're sort of, I'm not exactly in the middle, but I can't really identify with Miles. I can't really relate to Miles, maybe if I was a bit younger, but for me, I'm just sort of like stuck in the middle between, Peter B. Parker and in terms of the age anyway, for audiences like us who have, grown up with the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And the sequel trilogy of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't really look at Miles and see, like Robert Downey Jr. or anything like.
No,
it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just missed our age thing.
I don't see Miles as being the pioneer of Into the Spider-Verse. Whereas watching Iron Man, obviously, you can see him being that sort of figure within the MCU. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think I really enjoyed Chris Pine's Peter Parker at the very start. But yeah, in terms of my favorite character throughout, it's probably Peter B. Parker by a long way.
I do like how Peter B. Parker sort of acts as that Uncle Ben sort of character within the film.
Yeah.
And how he mentors him. He shows him how to swing and how to be a better Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I feel like Uncle Aaron was obviously a big sort of influence on Miles, but Peter B. Parker at the same time was huge as well, being that sort of influence on him. Yeah.
And I also like the fact that Miles' parents survived this movie. Usually that doesn't happen.
You don't see that happen a lot, do you?
Yeah, no, you don't see a movie where Spider-Man has, obviously Uncle Aaron dies, which, the thing with the Spider-Man character is that everybody's always dying around him, and that sort of that makes you relate to him. That makes you want to root for him.
Yeah.
So, I know somebody had to die in this movie, and I think Uncle Aaron was the right choice. I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I don't want to see his parents killed off in the sequels. I think it's interesting having.
It's different.
Two parents around. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't even name Peter Parker's parents because I don't think I've never read a comic before, so I couldn't even name Peter Parker's parents.
I'm just trying to think, because in The Amazing Spider-Man, it tries to flesh out that story, and it does an okay job per se, but we don't watch a Spider-Man movie to learn about how his parents died. We watch a Spider-Man movie to see him swinging through New York and taking and all that stuff. But yeah, so I like the fact that this movie, the parents are still there. He's got a moral, he hasn't lost his moral compass. He's got people around him.
Yeah.
And he seems to be at a pretty good place at the end of this movie. So
yeah,
I'm just hoping that in future installments, his parents stay around. But I feel like his dad will be the first to go because he's a police officer.
Probably, yeah.
I feel like because of this whole Black Lives Matter movement and everybody is police officers have come under a bit of scrutiny.
Police brutality and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the easy way out would be to kill him in the next one.
Yeah.
But I feel like it doesn't lend well to the story. I feel like having a police officer as his dad brings that dynamic that the first Amazing Spider-Man tried to bring.
Yeah.
Because obviously in the Amazing Spider-Man 1, you have Gwen Stacy's dad as the police officer. And that's sort of, there's a scene where they're sitting at a dinner table and, Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy's dad, Captain Stacy,
Is this Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah. They're having like a discussion about, whether, about vigilantes and everything like that.
Yeah. I do remember that scene, yeah.
So, yeah, I think, keep the parents, keep the dad. Let's not go down the path of his parents have been killed by a mysterious force. Let's go find it out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I like the fact that they stayed. I think all of his family members are great. Everything else, especially Kingpin, I feel just a bit weak. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I felt the same. I feel like Kingpin's character was his sort of motives behind it. It was kind of dead. Like, I'm not watching the film for Kingpin. And the other thing that they did, which I don't really agree with, is how they brought the Suicide Six in so fast. Like,
you mean the Sinister Six?
Sinister Six, sorry, yeah. We hadn't even seen Scorpion until that scene in
And he's Russian or something. Oh no, he's Spanish rather.
Yeah, Mexican or something. Yeah. Yeah, but we hadn't even seen the Sinister Six up until then, and boom, here we go. Here's a whole action scene with them.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
It just throws several villains at you, and you're thinking, well, how are we going to go in the next movie? Like, what
this film could have stood on its own 2 feet with Kingpin and Uncle Aaron on their own, and it should have. Yeah. They should have saved that for the other films, because I don't know how much else they're going to go on the other films. Whether they're going to stick with, Miles's character, or if they might do Spider-Man 2099 as was hinted in the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Which obviously I wouldn't be angry with that whatsoever. But I feel like bringing in the Sinister Six, bit of a tongue twister, so early was just it was a bit of a fault on their behalf. I didn't
sort of blowing the load early, but obviously there's quite a few Spider people, so it would make sense to bring in quite a few Spider villains. But in terms of telling a meaningful story,
it definitely did it.
Oh yeah, it does do it. But yeah, those villains, I feel like
Kingpin's motives were just a bit.
I love one of Kingpin's lines is "kill that guy," and he when in that opening scene where
when Miles is running away,
is running away. It's one of the funniest lines of the whole movie, and it really just sums up rather Kingpin's character. He just looks into the camera and he's like, "Kill that guy."
Kill that guy.
He's like, does not care. It's just like
that was quite good. Yeah,
I thought that was funny. Also, great Stan Lee cameo in this movie.
One of the best. He gets a lot of screen time as well, Stanley, in this film.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the longer Stanley cameos that I've seen.
No, I really enjoyed it. I think it was great.
It was meaningful. I mean, it had a purpose behind it. It wasn't just Spider-Man: Homecoming where he's yelling out his window at some neighbor. He was kind of he was kind of that mentor for Spider-Man. and I feel like that was quite important because obviously he co-created Spider-Man with Steve Ditko, so it was a really good and well placed sort of cameo by Stanley.
He says in this movie, I knew Peter Parker or whatever. And Miles is like, yeah, whatever, old man, crazy old man. He in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I hate to keep on bringing up the Amazing Spider-Man movie.
Gotta stop, man.
But in that movie, Stan Lee's at Peter's graduation scene, and he goes, "Oh, I think I know that guy." So I think pretty nice.
Really?
Tie-in, pretty nice tie-in there.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I might have to, seen the Raimi movies if Stan Lee's ever like, "Hey, I know that guy," because that would just that would just make it perfect. Obviously, the MCU haven't done that. But the MCU's its own thing. So,
touching on Sam Raimi's films, Spider-Man 2 and 3, did you pick up all of the sort of callbacks to them? Or
yes. I have a problem with this because this is trying to tell its own story. However, so we're being told that this isn't Andrew Garfield, this isn't Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, this is different Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So why does he walk down the street pointing at people and doing the finger guns thing like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man did in Spider-Man 3? I just get confused.
No, I feel like Spider-Man A. Parker is all of the other Peter Parkers we've seen before, but Spider-Man B. Parker is the different one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, okay. But I don't know. It takes me out of the movie because I'm thinking like, obviously,
I quite enjoyed it.
It's been hinting, sequels, hinting everyone's getting hyped for a possible live action or in this animation style Spider-Verse with, the past Spider-Man. But with this movie, I don't know, I just get so confused because, we have these new characters and obviously, I like the Easter eggs and the homages to the previous movies.
Yeah.
But if this character lived through some of the events of Tobey Maguire's character, then like, I'm like, well, what's the point of bringing in Tobey Maguire's character then? Like, I don't know. I feel like this movie should have just.
It was a fan service moment.
It was,
if anything,
and I think it's just a minute detail. It doesn't really. It's not a massive thing. It's just we're making fun of this mistake of this Spider-Man 3. And I think, okay, fine. There's quite a few other homages to the Raimi trilogy throughout this movie. But yeah, in terms of...
I wrote down all the ones I could see.
Yeah.
The train rescue.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2. Upside down kiss with MJ from the original Spider-Man.
Yeah, but MJ's upside down this time.
Yep. It was flipped around. Car flying through the window.
Because feminism, that's why.
Feminism. Because goddamn feminism.
I've
seen it pop up too much, man. They need to tone it down a bit. Car flying through the window. Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah. I didn't notice that one.
You didn't pick up on that one?
No.
And my absolute favorite was Peter's dance from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, Spider-Man 3, by all means, is not a great film. but the scene, how they dealt with it and how they sort of brought it back and had a bit of a joke at it, I think that was quite good.
Yeah, I think that's I enjoyed that. Anyway, one other thing that I also really liked is the whole sequence where Miles and Peter B. Parker are breaking into Alchemex.
That was done quite well. Yeah.
That's my favorite scene in the movie. That's the point where we get introduced to Gwen Stacy, obviously at the end. And I love the design of that character.
Her introduction in that scene was done so well. Her sort of elegance and the sleekness of her character.
Yeah.
Now she just like slowly just sort of nosedives down.
Yeah.
It was done quite well.
Yeah, it's how you do a female character correctly in a superhero setting. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed her character, and I think the design is beautiful. I think her costume is one of the best.
Yeah, done fantastically.
I think this movie is at its strongest, where it's just Miles and Peter. And I feel like the addition of Spider-Man Noir and the Spider Robot and Spider Ham were just sort of, tacked on, or not almost unnecessarily. Like, sure, they have a purpose, and they're cool. They are cool.
They could have had
callbacks.
the film without them, but obviously it's not really a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film.
Yeah.
Well, I
feel like you could have had a Spider-Verse film with two people from different dimensions, and I feel like that would have given the movie more time to sort of develop those characters. But anyway,
fair enough.
It's a it's a minute detail. I didn't really enjoy the Spider Noir and the Spider Ham and the other one as much as I did previously. I was like, I enjoyed Peter B. Parker the most. Give me more of that. Give me more of that.
Yeah. I know what you mean, because they obviously didn't get a lot of screen time. So they definitely could have flushed out.
And they do appear in the 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Yeah. They do come in quite late. But I feel like the pick of Spider-Man characters that they had in this film, which, obviously modern media doesn't really touch on any other Spider-Mans other than Peter Parker. I feel like bringing in these other ones to, notify the audience, hey, there is other Spider-Man out there.
Yeah.
I feel like that was quite good. They didn't go with with what was everyone wanted. Give us another Peter Parker film.
Yeah, I think it does it well. But yeah, you can. It's a choice of whether you develop 2 or 3 characters really well, or develop
6
5 or
so.
6.
Yeah,
it's sort of like an Avengers problem,
or like the Justice League, which obviously was done on a way worse scale.
Disgusting. Anyway, do you have anything else that you really enjoyed of this movie that you'd like to add?
Oh, I've got so much more to enjoy, but
just do you want to list it through? Just quickly, we'll run through it.
What I do want to say is, why did they do the New York Police Department as PDNY instead of NYPD? Did you see that?
Nope.
So on the films and on the cars and everything, it was titled PDNY. I just found that quite weird because obviously in New York it's actually NYPD.
Maybe
I don't know why they did that.
Maybe that's a legal issue of some kind.
I was thinking that, but I don't know. Let me see what else I've got here. Spider-Man's cave.
Yeah,
I love that, and how it's kind of the Bat Cave of
sort of steal from that,
of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
All the suits you saw as well. Beautiful
Easter eggs all over the place. Did you catch the small one?
Yep. Yeah, I wrote down all the ones I could see.
Yep.
The Iron Spider from the Marvel Civil War comic, obviously not the one from the MCU. I think that might have been in there as well, actually. I'm not quite sure. No, it wasn't. Spider-Man Armor Mark II, the sort of yellow and black one.
Okay,
It also comes up in the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Yeah, basically all of the Spider-Man PS4 suits
were in there. Yeah. Spider-Man Secret Wars, the big time stealth suit, Spider-Man with a cape, which is also a shout out to the What If series, where, what if Spider-Man had a cape?
Okay.
The Secret Wars stealth suit and the suit from the actual Spider-Man PS4 with the huge white spider logo on the front.
Love that.
And that's all the ones that I got there.
Yeah, pretty great Easter eggs throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Peter Porker within the style of Looney Tunes.
Yeah, John Mulaney, who's obviously a comedian.
A really good fit. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was great. He was great.
And I think one of Spider Ham's lines was "That's all, folks" or something.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Can we even say that?" or something.
Yeah,
I think that was quite funny.
Can you even say that legally?
Yeah.
That's a good line. That's a good line. There's a lot of funny lines in this movie. 100%.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to touch on was Kingpin murdering Uncle Aaron. That was really unexpected for me. I'm not sure if it was for you, but it was kind of the big bad murdering the his his sort of second hand, and that kind of reminisced to me about Darth Vader and Palpatine. You know how Vader threw Palpatine off the ledge. It was kind of
and killed him. Remember?
Yeah,
and killed him because he does not come back.
Because he doesn't come back
because he's dead.
But that was really
Palpatine
unexpected.
Died there, folks. He died, and
he should have died there.
He remained dead for the rest of eternity.
I'm never gonna forgive Lucasfilm for doing that. Yes. They really messed that up, man.
Just wait till we review those. It's gonna be good.
Gonna have a blast doing that.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else?
The at the end where that sort of battle sequence in the collider.
Oh, colors!
It was
all over the place.
It was beautiful to
Colors
watch,
all
man.
over the place.
Yeah. And the storytelling in that scene where Miles puts his hand on Kingpin's shoulder and he was like, hey, you know, that's really good storytelling. I feel like using something from a previous scene and sort of adapting that to fit in this sort of scene.
Yeah.
I feel like that was done really well, sort of a callback to earlier on in the film.
Yeah, love that.
But that was a beautiful scene to watch.
Great movie.
Great movie.
Anything else as in terms of what you liked? Because I have a few of points that I didn't like, and I just want to jump through them really quickly.
Yeah, you can do them now because I've got some stuff to say about the post-credit scenes, so we'll do that.
Yes, so we'll discuss the post-credit scenes and what we think will be in the sequel after. Going through what I didn't like. So, obviously, the frame rate, didn't like that. Kingpin is too big. He's too fat. I don't.
He covers the whole screen, man.
Like, I don't understand. Like, he's obviously a human. He looks like
looking at all the others
of Notre Dame, mate.
If you look at all the other Spider-Man content, and he's a normal-sized human. I think he's like 7 foot or something, but he's still a normal-sized human. You know, it's just big boned. In this film, it's like he's a giant.
He's literally a blob. He's not even like well defined either. He's just a balloon.
Like his suit is, it's like so black.
Kill that guy.
His character just, it wasn't done well.
No,
in my opinion.
Yeah. Weakest part of the movie. Also, I didn't like the fact, you know, this scene in the Spidey cave where the Spider Gang are debating whether Miles is going to be good enough to help them in the final sequence, and they literally just beat him up, and they're like, "Can you always get back up?" And then they just keep punching.
Yeah,
I'm watching this. I'm like, what?
It's
so abusive. Like,
I don't know what they were trying to do there.
It just does not work. Like,
they could have handled that so well. It's so much better.
It's a funny movie and it's a light movie, but like this scene is literally like 6 or 7 people beating up this teenager.
They literally jumped a teenager.
Yeah, like you got Spider-Man Noir, who's like probably like 40, 50 years old, just like tearing into this poor teenager.
It was just handled really poorly.
Beating the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Can you always get back up?" I'm like, "Stop kicking at him," and he might. Like, stop punching him in the face, and he might get up. Like, come on.
And then they walk away and form the little group, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't think he's ready for it." You just broke like 12 of his ribs. Let the kid just like heal for a second.
Also, another thing I didn't like in this movie, it's a classic Spider-Man trait. The swing onto nothing web swing. It's the classic shoot your web up in the sky, attached to nothing and swing. It's like they do it twice. Where all of the Spider Gang, they jump out of Miles's room and they shoot their webs directly up into the sky. God knows
what are they attaching to?
God knows what they're attaching their webs to. Like probably some seagull. Just like put, and they just like swing on. I'm like, come on, just jump.
Yeah. It would be a lot more realistic in the sense. Yeah.
Like if the Amazing Spider-Man movies did anything right, it's the visuals and the web swinging. And I feel like
the web swing in that film is amazing. That's one thing I did like about the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I hate to keep bringing that movie up as well. But yeah. So at this stage in the Spider-Man, with the MCU. I think the MCU have done it once or twice, like just the
every now and then they're gonna slip up with it because obviously they don't have the sort of time to nitpick on the sort of physics of Spider-Man.
Yeah. And most of these are just nitpicks, to be honest.
It's a comic film, they're having fun with it.
Yeah. And also another thing I didn't really like quickly is Miles's abilities go from 0 to 100 real quick. He's useless 1 minute, and then suddenly he believes himself, and then he's about as good as everybody else.
His eyes light up, and he turns into this sort of Spider-Man Miles Morales that's been doing Spider-Man for 20 years. Yeah. He's still a kid, he's still learning. But they throw all of these powers onto him. They're like, here, you're an expert at this now. When in reality he's not.
In the space of 5 minutes, he goes from completely useless to the best Spider-Man he can possibly be.
He's up there in par with Gwen Stacy with his abilities and how he's learned, but he shouldn't be.
Yeah, but obviously this movie, it runs for about 2 hours.
It's a long movie.
They could have gone for that extra half an hour, but with this sort of style of a movie, I don't think they could have. So it's just a matter of how do we accelerate this story. So okay, fine. Also, another thing I really didn't like, at the end, Kingpin punches Spider-Man in the same manner. He punches Miles Morales in the same sort of method as when he punched Spider-Man.
When he killed Spider-Man A. Parker.
Yeah.
So that should have killed Miles Morales.
Well, 100%. At the start of the movie, Kingpin does this whole ground pound onto Spider-Man. It kills him. And then at the end of this movie, Kingpin does the exact same thing to Miles Morales, who's a smaller individual, and Miles just survives. Like,
I don't understand that. Yeah.
What? Like, that doesn't really make much sense. But whatever. Maybe Miles has some sort of powers that we don't know. And also another thing I really another thing that I thought was funny is that Miles's roommate, he's Asian.
Yeah,
he's a nerd. Where have we seen that before? Like, come on, have some creativity. Give us another character. Don't just give us Ned from the MCU.
It's literally Ned.
Like, literally, his name could be Ned. He's a nerd. He's Asian. He sits in a chair. He's basically Ned.
I wouldn't be surprised if in the second film they bring that character back and sort of flush him out as Ned. And I would not be surprised at all.
He knows that Miles is Spider-Man too. So it's not like he can just change rooms and move on.
That part when they were all on the ceiling, and they were moving around, and then he looks at him and just like faints in his chair. That was quite funny.
But so those are just the small nitpicks that I didn't like. Another funny thing that I wanted to add is that back in the private school, when Miles is running away from the security guard, he locks himself in the security guard's office.
Yep. I think I know what you're going to say.
And the security guard's looking for him, and all the private school kids just snitch on him immediately.
And they point
to where Miles is. I'm like, that is a private school.
I was going to say something different. But that was quite funny as well.
Like, come on, they snitched on him in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, they didn't even give him a goddamn chance. They're like, he's in that door.
He's in there, officer. Get him.
Yeah. This is the post you're looking for, officer.
Yeah.
But did you also pick up on that scene where he goes into the office and then I think he accidentally plays music on his laptop? It's actually the Spider-Man Christmas album.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. You know, in the opening scene where it's got Spider-Man in the Santa suit and it's got all like the songs listed, it's playing those songs on his laptop. So he obviously is a fan of Spider-Man.
Oh, awesome.
And he downloaded the album and listened to it.
Yeah.
And I think he had a line where it was like, "Hey, he makes good music" or something.
Nice.
Just a small little thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Picked up on
that.
Yeah.
Then obviously getting towards the end of the movie, Miles is sort of giving his monologue about anyone can be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Anyone can be a hero. That's the theme. That's the moral of this story.
Anyone can be a hero. I do agree with. Yeah. Not everyone can be Spider-Man.
Yes, unfortunately, I would like to be Spider-Man. If
Hailee would all love to be.
If they're taking requests, I'll submit my resume. So Miles says, "I'm Spider-Man, and I'm not the only one, not by a long shot." Now, I could just be getting hyped for the possibility of bringing Andrew Garfield back, but I feel like that's a hint of more Spider-Man to come, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, as I said before, moral of the story, anyone can be a hero. There's a brilliant Stan Lee quote at the end that reads, that person who helps others simply because it should or must be done, and because it is the right thing to do, is indeed, without a doubt, a real superhero. And I think that's brilliant.
That's a really good quote.
Love that.
It kind of reminds me of the one from the Lorax with Dr. Seuss.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
I'm not as in the same sort of the sort of story that it gives. It doesn't give the same sort of message, but the sort of emotional sort of
nice
turnout that it has on it. Yeah, that sort of not bittersweet, but
it's just a meaningful ending.
Sort of sweet ending. Yeah. Another thing, go on.
I think that's something that we miss sometimes in these sort of superhero movies. Is that we miss that wholesome message. It's Marvel movies, especially. I call out the MCU because they've become a staple for what superhero movies are.
Yeah.
But, they're just movies where character gets cool powers. They fight a bad guy in the middle, they lose, and they fight the bad guy at the end and they win. There's no sort of real heart, whereas I think this movie towards the end brings that heart.
And I feel like it was definitely warranted in this film, because obviously now that Steve Ditko and Stan Lee have passed away, this is sort of their last piece of work with the Spider-Man character that they've done. Obviously, Steve Ditko didn't have any part in it, but Stan Lee sort of carrying on that legacy. And when he passed away, that was sort of his last piece of work, and how they sort of called back to that sort of quote. I think that was done really nice.
Very nice. Yeah. The final shot of this movie, I have a problem.
What's the final shot?
So Miles is in his bunk bed. He's just said, I'm Spider-Man, and I'm not the only one. And then he puts on his headphones. He listens to, that banging
Sunflower.
Track. Sunflower, love it.
Yep.
And then this wormhole appears above his bed, and Gwen Stacy appears.
And
she's like, "Hey, Spider-Man, you got a sec?" or something like that. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm wondering, how has she done this? How is she able to dimension hop?
I mean, they could have just done that all along. Could they not have?
Yeah, it must be. We'll talk about this in a second, but it must be related to Spider-Man 2099 because
surely, yeah.
Because how can Gwen Stacy? Also, the positioning. She appears right above his bed.
Isn't it a bunk bed?
Yeah. So she appears right above him, but underneath the bunk. That's
odd.
Choose a better place, lady. Choose a less weird place. That's just what I thought. And because imagine you're just sitting back listening to some good tunes, and suddenly
dog, that'd be so weird. I'm looking at the ceiling now, but that would be so weird.
Suddenly Spider-Gwen just appears. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
No. So I thought that was a bit of something out of a horror movie almost.
Bit of a jump scare.
Well, I don't want to open my eyes and see someone dangling above me. It's actually a scene from a horror movie. Anyway, do you have any other thoughts?
This is kind of in a weird position. I should have mentioned this before, but I just wanted to touch on how much of a badass Aunt May is in this film.
I didn't
tell
like
me
Aunt
I'm
May
wrong
in this film. I didn't like her.
Are you serious?
No, because it's probably because she is a badass.
Yeah, they definitely did something different with her character.
Yeah. So I give credit for doing something different, of course.
Yeah, but I think she was handled quite well in this film, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's cool. But yeah, the definitive Aunt May for me is obviously Sally Fields in
In Spider-Man.
I think
Amazing Spider-Man.
Are
you kidding me?
I think she's the best Aunt May.
You're joking, man.
Even the Raimi ones. Obviously the MCU, they're doing this, this whole, hot Aunt May sort of situation.
Which we aren't complaining about.
No, of course not. But yeah, they're trying something different into the Spider-Verse. So credit for them for doing that.
No, I like Spider-Man's Aunt May. The original Sam Raimi films
that's
like
okay.
the most.
That's okay. I respect that.
Yeah.
I think Sally Field's a better actor, but
fair enough.
So into the Spider-Verse. Who's going to watch this movie? Who would you recommend this movie to? Do you think the casual audience, so maybe someone who's seen maybe one or two MCU films, do you think they can jump into this and have a good time?
100%. I think anyone can jump into this really and have a good time. That's mainly because coming from me, obviously I'm quite a big superhero film and sort of fanatic, but I didn't even, I barely touched on Miles Morales before this. Yeah. So I definitely going into this film, I reckon anyone could watch this and sort of, understand the film.
Fair enough. I think the animation style will, it's sort of got a Clone Wars effect,
Yeah.
It's because Clone Wars, it's Star Wars fans who love Star Wars and really appreciate the movies. They'll watch the Clone Wars, whereas someone who hasn't seen the Star Wars movies, they're not going to watch the Clone Wars first. So
yeah,
I think animation, it can draw certain people in who are already fans of the source material, whereas for bringing in new fans, it's difficult.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But I do agree with you. I do think that anybody who can watch this movie and have a good time, regardless of what they know about Spider-Man.
No, I think Sony tried to achieve that with this film. Obviously it's meant to strive towards younger audiences, but also sort of bring in that sort of previous audience that's the big Spider-Man fan base. Yep.
No, I think it achieves that. So a sequel's been announced for this movie, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
Also, a spin-off movie has been announced called Spider-Woman, which I think I'm also very excited for that movie.
I'm not a big fan of feminism at all, but I definitely agree that I should be excited for this because how they handled Gwen Stacy in this film was the right way to do it.
I agree.
Other films have just completely failed with it. I mean, I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head.
The Last Jedi.
Obviously doing the Pirates of the Caribbean reboot with Karen Gillan, who plays Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. They're sort of putting her as the main Pirates of the Caribbean character. When, Johnny Depp should be doing that because Johnny Depp is the heart of the Pirates of the Caribbean film. So, but that's another time to talk about that and how feminism is kind of degrading films in Hollywood.
But I agree. However, I think it's not necessarily the feminism itself. Like, I think Spider-Gwen in this movie, she's a great female character, and I think sometimes studios get caught up with trying to push a certain message or a certain agenda, and that can take away from the movie itself. I think Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel. You obviously had the whole girl power theme to it, but they didn't push it that hard. Like Brie Larson, she's a nightmare in real life, but Captain Marvel by itself, like they didn't really push it, but they definitely almost did. So
they almost crossed the line.
But the thing is, if you tell a good story and you create, compelling female characters, the feminism, like, it comes later. Like, don't start with the, if Spider-Gwen rocked up and all of these male characters were all over the place, and and they couldn't do anything right. And then suddenly, Spider-Man comes along and saves the day. That might have been a bit jarring because, they're saying, men are useless. Look at this one. But I think she just slots right into the team, which I think does the feminist message a better service.
That's how it should be done.
Yeah, but anyway,
100%.
I'm looking forward to the Spider-Woman movie when it does come out.
I think any other Spider-Man content that's on this sort of animation style, I'll look forward to.
Yeah. Same. There's also a television series in the works.
Ooh.
Not entirely sure where that's gonna land. Like, is that gonna be a TV, like an actual TV show, or because none of the Spider-Man content comes to Disney Plus because of the whole Sony,
Oh yeah.
fiasco.
That sort of. Yeah. With what happened with Tom Holland's character.
Yeah. So well, God knows how that's going to go. But I'm really looking forward to this sequel.
Same.
What do you think is going to happen? What's your prediction? Obviously, we got Spider-Man 2099 in that post-credit scene.
We need to have a talk about that.
He goes back in time to where it all began. One of the first Spider-Man comics. That meme moment where Spider-Man's pointing at Spider-Man.
Let me grab up my notes on. I love that. That was probably one of my favorite post credit scenes ever. Because I think that was quite a big meme during that period, 2018. I think that was quite a big meme, the sort of Spider-Man pointing.
Yeah.
So doing that was it was so well done. None of us saw it coming. And when it came onto the theater, the theater just erupted. They were laughing. It was so well done. Yeah.
No, I enjoyed that. So, do you think the sequel is going to be Spider-Man 2099?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I mean they've definitely set it up. I'm not sure who that female character was with 2099.
Yeah.
In the big fur jacket, but I'm not sure who she was. But those two characters definitely seem important for the sequel. And I won't be disappointed whatsoever if they go down that route for the sequel, because Spider-Man 2099 is a very cool looking character.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think this sequel could almost benefit from scaling it back, maybe telling just a story about Miles? I know this franchise has begun because of the whole time traveling and dimension hopping.
Mm-hmm.
Element. Do you think the movie will benefit from scaling back and maybe telling a story of just Miles and just Miles figuring it out? Or
I feel like that film's already touched on, this film I should say. I feel like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has already touched on that sort of ground. It's basically Miles coming as a character. I feel like if they were to do it again, it's kind of like how Spider-Man Homecoming sort of skipped all the Uncle Ben stuff because we've already seen it time and time again. But I feel like if they were to make a sequel, I probably wouldn't opt for a Miles story because we've already gotten that, and I feel like it's called Into the Spider-Verse, so I feel like they should probably touch on all the other Spider-Man, give all the other ones a chance to their spotlight to shine.
Yeah.
And they've definitely set that up with Spider-Man 2099. How they probably want him to be the next sort of big Spider-Man in the sequel film.
Yeah, that would be cool. Do you think we're going to get a Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland all coming together?
Yeah, it's just the question of the budget of the film. Like, it's definitely gonna have to be quite a big film.
I think the next one will do better than this one.
The Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse
sequel. The sequel will be a better financial success. This movie did not make a lot of money in terms of, when you compare it to some of the other superhero movies.
Yeah.
But I feel like the sequel is almost bound to make more money because people are more excited.
I feel like if they were to do a crossover with all of the Spider-Man that we've seen previously,
I think the internet would break, first off.
Definitely. I feel like it would definitely be in in one of the later Spider-Man films, because obviously we've got I think it's four Thor films rumored. I think Love and Thunder's coming out.
Yeah.
So that definitely shows that you can have more than the sort of trilogy of films that have previously been established in the MCU. You know, you only have 3 Iron Man films and you only have 3 Captain America films, but Thor kind of broke that with his 4th film. So, and obviously Spider-Man's one of the more not accepted, but one of the more popular characters in the MCU. So I could definitely see him getting, 4 or 5 films. And I pray to God that one of those ones has Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland in the same film, because that would be great.
Yeah. Obviously, for me, if I could have anything, I'd have a live action Into the Spider-Verse film. But I feel like that's definitely going to be harder to orchestrate. So at this stage, I'm excited for the sequel, regardless of what it brings. If it does bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I will fall off my chair. And I'll be down for that.
Having Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man character as the sort of Peter B. Parker character, because he's obviously going to be a lot older now.
Yeah.
I feel like that could really work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So anyway, excited for the sequel, whatever it brings.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this quiz.
Yes.
Okay, so quiz courtesy of Beano. Listeners, you can hop on
Beano.com, Beano.com.
Pause the podcast, do it with us if you would like. Question 1.
Wait, where should we put the link for them? Are we going to provide a link, or?
We'll provide a link in the YouTube description.
In the YouTube description. But if you just wanted to type it up now, it's Ultimate Quiz Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on Beano.
Lovely. Yep. Question 1. New Spider-Man Miles Morales was introduced in which comic series? Is it Ultimate Superheroes, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Comics Fallout, or Ultimate Spider-Verse? I know which one this is.
Damn it. Okay. So my thought process, obviously I'm not a big comics fan. Ultimate Superheroes doesn't really sound like it. Because I feel like if they were to do Miles Morales film, they would want it to have more sort of Spider-Man title. That kind of seems more generic.
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man, I think they've already done. I think that might have been one of the other Spider-Mans. I think it was. Maybe I'm thinking of Amazing Spider-Man.
There's a TV show called Ultimate Spider-Man.
I don't think it's Ultimate Spider-Man, and I don't think it's Ultimate Comics Fallout. I think it's Ultimate Spider-Verse. I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. So we're not told the answers yet.
Until the end.
I'm just seeing if I can find the answers as we go along. No, we don't. So we'll find out at the end. Anyway, I'm locking in Ultimate Spider-Man. That's my choice.
Oh, you're going with that?
Yeah. Question 2. What's the name of Miles Morales' parents?
Rightio.
Well, you actually mentioned it in this podcast.
I did, didn't I? Yeah.
So, the answers rather are Rio Morales and Jefferson Davis, and that's the right answer. The other answers are Carmen Flores and Henderson Davies. I'm pretty sure those are the voice actors. Maybe what?
Yeah.
Pinto Ramirez and Michigan Fortune. Miranda, those aren't right. It's the first one.
Would you have gotten that if I hadn't said it?
Yes, because I
rewatched it.
I previewed this quiz, and I was new to look out for whoever
you cheater.
Dad was. Yeah, I cheated. Question 3: What is Miles doing when he is bitten by a spider? Is he doing his homework, skating, graffitiing, or playing football? We all know the answer to that.
Graffiti.
How does the Spider-Verse get open? Someone leaves a door unlocked. Someone makes a particle accelerator. Someone creates a spider laser. Someone creates a spider multiplier.
Leaves the door unlocked.
Someone makes a particle accelerator. That's the one. What does Peter Parker give Miles after his fight with Green Goblin? A key, a phone number, a microchip, or a USB drive? Now this is
Debatable.
yeah. It's either
I'm gonna go with a USB drive, but I can see how it would be microchip.
It could be a key, it could be a microchip, or it could be a USB drive, but I'm pretty sure it's a USB drive.
Yeah.
But it's a goober. That's what's important. It's a goober.
Yeah.
What relation is Prowler to Miles Morales?
Friend, cousin, brother, or uncle? Uncle.
Question 7.
Whose particle accelerator opens the Spider-Verse? Venom, Prowler, Kingpin, or Lizard? Did we see Lizard in this film? I don't think we did.
No, we do. See that the image that's supplied is a Spider Gwen sequence. So it's like when she's saying so she's in that's her universe. So Lizard obviously exists in her universe.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty cool design of Lizard. Yeah. But yeah,
Kingpin.
It's not Lizard, it's Kingpin. Yeah. What color is Spider-Man Noir? Well, you had to be pretty stupid to get this wrong. Blue, black, brown, or green. It's black. Question 9. Who tries to teach Miles to use his powers?
Okay, well, this is a very controversial sort of question because it could be either because it says who tries to teach. So Peter A. Parker
or Peter B. Parker.
I would go with Peter A. Parker because he tried to teach him, but he didn't get there.
I'm going to go the other one. I'm going to go Peter B. Parker.
But I feel like it's going to be B. Parker because they wouldn't have the same sort of thought process as I just did.
What is Gwanda's real name? Question 10. Is it Gwen Stacy, Wendy Macy, Gwen Pacey, or Ren Tracy?
Glenn Pacey. Gwen Stacy.
It's Gwen Stacy. What new power does Miles have? Question 11. Teleportation, invisibility, super speed, or telepathy? Or
telepathy.
Telepathy. Invisibility is what he has.
Yes.
And he can't do it on command, except he can. Which of the following spider people isn't real? Spider-Man, Spider-Ham, Spider-Gwen, or Spider-Nan?
Spider-Ham.
Spider-Man.
No, just kidding. It's Spider-Nan.
No, we don't need that in the sequel.
Spider-Man.
Who repairs the damaged USB drive? Is it Peter Parker, Peni Parker, Peter Porker, or Miles Morales? It's Peni Parker.
Well, let me think about this.
It's the anime one. It's the anime chick.
Peni Parker?
Yeah. Peni Parker is the correct answer.
What is the name of Peter Parker's aunt? May, April, June, or Julie? Why does it have like 3 months and then Julie?
It's a combination.
Is that meant to be July?
May. Answer's May, yeah. Question 15. What is strange about the spider that bites Miles? It's a robot. It's radioactive. It can't talk. Oh no, it can talk rather. Nothing. It's just an ordinary spider.
It's radioactive.
That's the one. What's the name of Kingpin's chief scientist? Is it Nocturne, Olivia Octavius, Arno Kravinoff, or Charlotte Witter? It is Olivia
Octavius.
Question 17. What does Miles use to design his new costume? Glue and glitter. Tin foil. Spray paint. Or a field tip pen.
Felt tip pen.
Oh, felt tip pen. It's
spray paint.
However, there is some glitter on it though.
Is there?
100%.
I feel like you're lying.
How does Miles overcome Kingpin? Web sling, heat ray, laser wave, or venom at last?
Okay, don't say anything because I'm trying to think about this.
This is badly worded, I think.
I think it's web sling.
I think it's laser wave. Because that's he goes, hey.
Yeah, but doesn't he
goes
put his hand on his shoulder? Kill that guy.
Who does Miles not face in the final fight?
What did you choose?
Laser wave.
I'm gonna go web sling.
Okay. Question 19. Who does Miles not face in the final fight? Octavius, Scorpion, Tombstone, or Scorcher? I don't even know who Scorcher is.
I don't think Scorcher's a character. I don't think it's Tombstone. Yeah, wait, whoa. I know he faces Scorpion and Octavius. Tombstone? I know Tombstone's there, but I'm going to go Scorcher because I don't even remember him being there.
Yeah, fair enough. Question 20, the last question. What color is Spider-Man's new suit?
What's Spider-Man?
That's a good question. We don't know.
Blue and red, black and red, yellow and red, green and red. I'm gonna go black and red because I'm presuming it's talking about Miles.
Did you press enter or whatever?
Yeah. Oh no, I clicked on the last one, isn't it?
Yeah. What's your score out of 20? What did you
18.
Get? Oh, I got 18 as well. That's a shame.
What did I get wrong? It was Venom Blast. How does Miles overcome Kingpin?
Venom Blast? No.
I'm not going to accept that.
What else did I get wrong?
I feel like it might have been
the start. First question. It's Ultimate Comics Fallout is the comic that introduces Miles Morales. It's not Ultimate Spider-Man. Well, that's my bad.
Didn't know that.
Well, that brings us to the end of our lovely quiz.
Yep.
Thanks to whatever this website's called.
Beano.
Yes. Okay. Before we go, is this the best Spider-Man film of all time?
Yeah. I would definitely say so. I mean, it was done differently. It gave us refreshing characters. The animation style was beautiful to watch. And I think the range of Spider-Man characters that it gave us, and the fact that it wasn't another Peter Parker story. We're all bored of Peter Parker.
No, this is what I have a problem with. All the Spider-Man fans are like, oh my god, we've had an origin Peter Parker story so many times. You've had it twice.
Okay, but twice is enough. 3 times.
No.
Or origin, sorry. I'm mainly talking about we've seen Peter Parker as a character too many times.
Okay.
Yeah. But having another character like Miles was just refreshing to me.
I agree.
No, I think this is very. It's between Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi film, Spider-Man 2, sorry, and this film here. I'm not quite sure which one, but I think this one just goes above it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that can really hold back Spider-Verse from being the top Spider-Man film is the fact that it's not a Peter Parker story.
Really?
Well, yeah, I think in terms of that's all we've gotten so far. So I had an issue with saying whether this is the best Spider-Man film of all time because all of our Spider films so far have been about Peter Parker. So, but objectively speaking, I think, this is probably the Spider-Man film that I enjoy.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely up there. But I can see there's a few faults that might bring it down. The villains in the film, how they handled them wasn't the best. But there's a lot of things that it does do right as well.
Agreed. Okay,
yep.
So shall we give our verdict on a countdown? So whether we think it's the best Spider-Man film of all time, yes or no? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Yes.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, as we said before. Just search The Rewatch on YouTube and we're the first one that comes up. Chuck us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And while obviously we don't have huge aspirations for growth on this podcast, but we would like to build some sort of an audience. So any help is appreciated. Any share is appreciated.
Yeah.
We really appreciate the support on the Instagram page. It's been pretty awesome to know that
we do have people watching us,
Exactly.
Yeah, there's people following at least.
Yeah. So and it's really nice to know that it's not just us talking to each other. There are people on the other end, which is fantastic. So thank you so much. If you've watched this far, you're a real one. So thank you so much. Stay tuned on Instagram to find out what we're rewatching next
And
week.
if you do have any suggestions for future films or TV shows that you want us to do an episode on, just drop it down in the description, in the comment box below, and we'll have a look at it, and maybe we'll do it on another episode in the future.
100%. Don't be afraid to send us a DM on Instagram as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Goodbye.
See ya.